"Get your filthy black hands off my bench." The words cut through the rain like knives. Terrence Coleman froze for a fraction of a second, his soaked janitor uniform clinging to his lean frame. He hammered the cracked pavement, pooling in dark, grimy puddles. The woman in the designer coat recoiled as he approached the bus shelter, her makeup streaked from relentless crying, mascara running like tiny rivulets of despair. Her shoulders trembled uncontrollably, grief twisting into disgust. The instant she recognized his skin. "Just wanted to check if you're okay, ma'am." "You've been crying," Terrence said, voice low, careful. "Okay? Do I look like I need help from someone like you?" Her laugh was bitter, a rasp of pain that echoed off the concrete. Tears still streamed down her cheeks, her hands shaking violently. A black janitor. "What could you possibly offer me?" Terrence said nothing. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing against 2 crumpled dollars, the last money he had. He placed them gently into her trembling hand. "Ma'am, it's a long walk in this rain." Then he turned and disappeared into the shadows, letting the rain mask the heat rising in his chest. 6 months later, this same woman would stand in a courtroom holding his fate in her hands. Terrence Coleman would finally cry not from her cruelty, but from her redemption, from the weight of truth unburdened. The alarm clock buzzed at 5:15 a.m., held together by duct tape and stubbornness, much like its owner. Terrence Coleman rolled off the couch, bones aching from another night on springs long surrendered to sagging memory. The bedroom wasn't his. It belonged to his mother now. She needed it more. He padded to her door and cracked it open. Gladys Coleman lay asleep, silver hair splayed across the pillow like a halo, fragile as the memory slipping away from her mind. 74 years old, early-stage dementia stealing her thoughts like a thief, meticulous and patient. 7 pill bottles lined the nightstand, blood pressure, memory, anxiety, the costly armor she needed for the battles her own mind had become. Terrence sorted them quietly. Blue pills first, then white, then the small yellow ones that cost more than his weekly groceries. "Terrence? That you, baby?" Her voice was thick with sleep, fragile as the morning. "It's me, Mama. Go back to sleep. Did you call Jazz yet?" "She hasn't visited in so long." His hand froze over the pill organizer. Jazz Yasmin, his baby sister.
Ow!
He didn't tell her the truth. Jazz was sitting in a cell at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, 3 years into a 5-year sentence for a crime she did not commit. "I'll call her later." "Mama, you rest." Terrence moved to the kitchen, preparing oatmeal, not the instant kind, but real oats, cheap, filling, slow to cook, but worth the effort. On the refrigerator door, held by a cross-shaped magnet, was a photograph. Terrence at 22, grinning in paramedic scrubs at graduation. His father's proud arm over his shoulder, his mother crying happy tears, and Jazz, 19. Holding a sign, "My brother saves lives." 16 years ago, before everything fell apart. He touched the photo, fingers trembling. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm trying." The bus rumbled through North Philadelphia, dawn cracking the sky with pale light. Terrence sat at the back, invisible among construction workers, night shift nurses, and a homeless man sprawled across 3 seats. Here, nobody was judging. Here, he could exist unnoticed. One unread message blinked on his phone. Bedford Hills inmate call. Scheduled 6:45 p.m. today. Jazz, his weekly 15 minutes. 3 years of double shifts had gone into affording these calls. $15 per call, plus commissary money so she could buy soap that didn't strip her skin, plus appeals that went nowhere. The bus stopped outside Mercer and Associates, a tower of glass and steel, 52 floors of ambition. Terrence entered through the service door, nodding at Tommy, the 63-year-old security guard who had been there longer than most executives had lived. "You look tired, brother. I'll sleep when Mama's better. And when's that going to be?" Terrence said nothing. Both men knew the answer. The 52nd floor sparkled under Terrence's mop. He began at 6 a.m., finishing before the executives arrived at 8 o'clock, an invisible laborer for invisible people. He spotted a $100 bill under a desk and without hesitation, took it to Lost and Found.
You're crazy, man, Leon.
His coworker said. "Nobody would have known." "I would have known," Terrence replied softly. "Too much conscience, not enough sense." "Maybe," he admitted. His father had taught him something before dying. Integrity, ecenty, what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when they're not. William Coleman, Sr., had lived by those words. Died by them too. Heart attack at 58, working 3 jobs to keep the family afloat. Terrence was 38 now. Same trajectory, same tired bones. He finished mopping and began on the executive washrooms when he heard a soft, unexpected voice. "Thanks, Mr. Coleman. Have a good day." Startled, he looked up. Craig Ashford, 35, junior executive, kind eyes, expensive watch. "One of the few people who read name tags. You too, Mr. Ashford?" Terrence replied. Craig nodded and walked away. At that moment, the name meant nothing. Just another white man in a suit, slightly less terrible than the rest. Terrence wouldn't learn the truth for another 6 months, by which time it would almost be too late. During lunch, in the supply closet, the only private space he had, he allowed himself a rare moment of tears. His phone buzzed. "Mr. Coleman, this is Patricia Patterson from Sunny Meadows Care Facility." His stomach dropped. "Is my mother okay?" "She's fine physically, but there was an incident this morning. She wandered out of the facility, asking strangers for directions to a house she lived in 40 years ago. Your mother needs full-time memory care. Our facility isn't equipped." "How much?" $8,500 per month. Terrence froze. He made $2,100 in a good month. What about Medicaid? 18-month waiting list. Terrence sat in the darkness of the supply closet. For the first time in 3 years, he felt hopeless. But the universe wasn't done with him yet. The universe rarely stopped at breaking someone. It liked to circle back just to test the seams. That evening, another letter waited stiffly, ominously, almost ceremoniously in his mailbox, resting like an unopened verdict. This one was different. Heavy without being large, threatening without shouting. This one was from a lawyer. Reappeal opportunity. Jasmine Coleman. Case number 2019, 7734. The ink on the envelope looked too neat for a life so messy. He tore it open with trembling fingers as the rain still ticked against the fire escape outside. "Dear Mr. Coleman," it began, "new evidence has emerged in your sister's case that may support grounds for appeal." The words should have sounded hopeful. They sounded terrifying. Because hope was dangerous when you were already drowning. It made you kick harder and sink faster. However, the letter continued. "Pursuing this opportunity will require retaining competent legal counsel. Estimated cost, $15,000. $15,000. The number hit louder than the rain ever had. Terrence sat at his kitchen table. The table was cheap, wood laminate scarred by time, cracked edges softened by human pressure. He stared at 2 pieces of paper laid out before him like 2 possible futures and both impossible. The first was his mother's care facility bill. The second was his sister's chance at freedom, shaped like a price tag he could never reach without bleeding out for it. "Choose," the universe seemed to whisper, not out loud. The universe never said things out loud. It wanted you to hear it in the silence. Your mother's comfort or your sister's justice. Pick one. Pick one. He put his head in his hands for a moment, but not to surrender, not even to cry, just to breathe. Just to expand his lungs for a second because life felt tight and air felt expensive. Then, without ceremony, without hesitation, without allowing the universe to hear his fear, he got up, put on his second uniform, and left for his evening shift. The Ashford Grand Hotel gleamed like a carved jewel against the Philadelphia skyline, disgustingly beautiful and unforgivingly tall. He entered through the service entrance. As always, different building, same man, same invisibility. "Coleman," Mr. Barnes barked before he could clock in. "You're on penthouse duty tonight. Big fundraiser tomorrow. It's Judge Ashford's event. Everything needs to be perfect or you're out." "Yes, sir," and Coleman. Barnes raised a brow, eyes scanning him with barely concealed disgust. Tone sharpened like prejudice, knowing it was safe here. "Try not to touch anything expensive." Terrence nodded, not because he agreed, but because dignity often learned to mimic obedience when survival demanded it. He collected his cleaning supplies and headed up. 52 floors, the same number as his day job. Ironically symmetrical, like a cruel cosmic joke written by someone who had never been tired. As he worked, the building hummed with class and hierarchy. He spotted nothing out of place. The staff had cleaned before him. His duty was to clean after their cleaning, a redundancy that felt symbolic for his entire life. He overheard staff gossip in passing, voices drifting like background actors failing to realize they were narrating the plot. Judge Eleanor Ashford. Old money, older husband. Son runs half the real estate in Pennsylvania. Heard she's worth millions. Billions, probably. These people don't count in millions. Terrence kept mopping. He'd learned long ago that rich people's problems weren't his business. Their names were decor, not context. He didn't make the connection, didn't catch the foreshadowing in real time, didn't notice the gravity of the name, not yet. He got home at midnight, exhausted beyond metaphors. But the universe enjoyed metaphors, so it gave him one anyway. He found his mother awake, wandering. The apartment. Mama. His voice dropped into softness, automatic practiced tenderness. What are you doing up? She looked at him like he was familiar, but the name tag of his face kept sliding off her memory. I'm looking for William, she whispered into the stale apartment air. He was supposed to be home by now. William? His father, dead for 10 years. Something cracked inside his chest. A soundless fracture, but irreparable. A man could be drenched in rain and hate and debt, but the moment dementia reached for your mother's heart, that was when life stopped asking permission to break you. Daddy's just running late, he lied gently, voice a warm blanket for a cruel truth. Mama, come on, let's get you back to bed. He guided her back, tucked her in, and sang to him she used to sing to him when bedtime smelled like peace instead of lawyers and pharmaceutical cruelty. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Her eyes closed. A smile touched her lips, the old smile. The smile of the era when memory still worked, and rain was just water, and love was free currency. Terrence stayed beside her until her breathing deepened. Only then did he move like heartbreak was something you could clean up after. In the kitchen, on top of the refrigerator, where nothing expected to be examined, he pulled down the shoebox he'd hidden years ago. The box held pieces of his former life, his paramedic certification stamped revoked in red, like a wound that never stopped identifying itself. Old photographs. Letter from the Pennsylvania EMS Certification Board. Failure to follow proper reporting procedures. Patient death. Certification revoked. He had tried to do the right thing. The world treated integrity like evidence it didn't want admitted. He'd reported suspicious medication practices at a Meridian healthcare facility. A patient died because of those practices, and somehow the blame warped itself toward the whistleblower like the system needed a sacrifice it could punish publicly. The system had crushed him once. It was trying to crush him again. But at the bottom of the shoebox was something else. A copy of his sister's sentencing document. His eyes snagged on a name that should have stuck 3 years ago, and didn't tee until now, till the story wanted revenge to finally wake up. Presiding Judge, Honorable Eleanor Ashford, the woman from the bus stop, the woman in the designer coat, the woman who cried before hate co-opted her pain, the woman he gave his last $2, the woman who recoiled at his black hands, the woman who called him filthy, the woman who sentenced Jasmine to prison for 5 years while he worked double shifts to pay for calls from the same building stamped at the top. She was the judge who sent Jazz to prison. Jasmine, his baby sister. For a full minute, the world held its breath with him. What kind of world is this? He whispered, and the fridge hummed back, indifferent. The Ashford Grand Hotel ballroom glittered like something from a dream Terrence had never dared to want. Gaudy, ceremonial, dripping with class privilege. Crystal chandeliers, scattered diamonds of light over tables dressed in china that cost more than his monthly salary. Women in gowns that could erase his debt if fabrics could make legal arguments. Men laughing at jokes that felt exclusive by design, not humor. Champagne flutes ringing like tiny bells chanting hierarchy forever. A banner towered in the center, Second Chances Foundation. Annual gala. He almost laughed then. Almost. Because exhaustion made irony funny sometimes. Second chances for people who never needed a first one. His mop squeaked against the floor. Noticed by nobody. That was the deal. You stay invisible, and you get to stay alive. Then his hand reached for a champagne flute on a side table. He looked up. He froze. Judge Eleanor Ashford stood 20 feet away, poised, polished, resurrected into wealth and self-possession. Diamonds at her throat catching the light like justice was born to sparkle only when it ruled. A completely different species from the woman sobbing alone at a bus stop bench. Her champagne paused at her lips like the narrative finally had her attention. Their eyes met. Recognition slammed into them both like a temporal collision. Coleman, Mr. Barnes appeared like a narrative blockade. Suite for B, guest emergency. Move it now. He was dragged away before Eleanor could reach him, turn back once. She stood, frozen in her world of silk and chandeliers, watching him disappear through the service door, like he had vanished into narrative ellipsis. But this time, she saw him. Suite for B wasn't spilled champagne or clogged toilets. This time, his life didn't meet someone broken. It met someone terrified. A girl, 17, maybe 18, designer dress, tear-stained face, bare shoes kicked into the corner like stories shedding disguise. Against a wall, pressed into survival, voice cracking like hope splintering. "Please," she whispered, clutching a burner phone like it held her pulse. "Please don't tell them I'm here. They'll send me back." "I can't go back there." Terrence recognized fear, like a dialect older than money. "I know scared when I see it," Terrence murmured. "Are you safe?" "Not yet," she swallowed. "But I'm trying to be." He closed the door behind them. Protected her silence with his presence like anonymity was the only jurisdiction he had left, and he used it constitutionally. The search party moved on. When they were gone, Grace bloomed in Grace's eyes like gratitude, afraid to speak too loudly. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." He looked at the $23 she slipped into his hand. "Someone helped me once," he whispered. "Guess I'm paying it forward." But the story wasn't done naming villains yet, because 6 months later, Craig Ashford, heir of Mercer, son of Richard, would tell Terrence this truth over diner coffee, shaking like structural foreshadowing. "My father, Richard, he owns leverage, he owns schemes, he owns silence. Meridian Healthcare. Patients held longer, fraudulent billing. People who ask questions getting silenced. Silenced. How your sister asked questions." Terrence's blood went ice cold instantly. That paramedic, that was me. And history folded back on itself like vengeance being notarized. Craig stared at him. "You? That was you? You reported medication irregularities?" "Yes," Terrence said quietly. "I'm the proof your father buries." Because the universe wasn't done with him yet. The universe never finished testing Terrence Coleman. Not until the courtroom. Not until redemption came, wearing guilt and money. Not until truth finally hired its lawyer. It's not until the viral story found its witness. It's not until the invisible man got seen. Not until hate turned into fear, and fear turned into revolt, and revolt finally found his face again in the service entrance at 52 floors up. A patient died. Those 3 words alone carried the weight of a career, a legacy, a man's sleepless nights, and the kind of grief that didn't shout, it hollowed. Next thing I knew, I was blamed for it. Lost my certification, my career, everything. His voice, when he said it later, wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, but it had a dull thud to it. The sound a person makes when the world has already stopped being fair and started being final. Craig nodded slowly. "Then you already know what my father is capable of." His tone tightened like screws turning in a trap no one had triggered yet, but everyone could sense closing. Craig pulled out a folder, thick with paper and consequence. "Grace has been gathering evidence, but we need more. We need someone on the inside who can testify." Terrence met his stare, done blinking, but carrying every blink he had suppressed for 3 decades of responsibility. "And that's me. That's my grandmother." Craig's jaw tightened like regret, and blood shared the same bone in his family. "She doesn't know what my father has done." "Not really. Thinks she's protecting the family." Protecting the family. That phrase sounded noble only until you read the footnotes of its cost. We can show her the truth she already knows about my sister. She knows she sentenced an innocent woman. She doesn't know why. Terrence felt the words move through him like dossier vu. Not coincidence, but conspiracy finally revealing its handwriting style. Craig slid the folder across the diner table, wood slightly wet from coffee rings, hope legs wobbling beneath them. "My father has been blackmailing her for years, but if she sees the full picture, all the lives he's destroyed, she might finally be brave enough to fight back." Fight back. 8 letters. Sentence Terrence never got to finish writing for himself because survival kept interrupting his grammar. Terrence looked at the folder, then past it into the quiet war between generations of Ashfords and Colemans, now merging into a singular battlefield. "Why are you doing this?" "He's your father." Craig stood slightly, leaning in as though truth required physical proximity now. Because some debts can only be paid in truth, not metaphorically, legally, spiritually, economically impossible, morally mandatory, continued. And because my grandmother I sent the only one who is tired of being afraid, heavier than being afraid. Because fear consumes energy, but exhaustion reveals honesty. For 3 weeks, Terrence allowed himself to hope. Hope had never been free in his world. He had to rent it, like lawyer retainers. Mental bandwidth, bus fare, extra shift hours, oxygen. His mother thrived in the new facility. Good days outnumbered bad days. Time gave her clarity in bursts. Beautiful, fragile bursts. The kind of moments you don't tell heavy truths to. She remembered his name, remembered Jazz, remembered to smile when he visited. Those smiles were little certificates of survival the system couldn't revoke. He met Eleanor for coffee twice a week. Strange, fragile meetings where neither of them quite knew what they were doing. Actually, they both knew. They were practicing speaking in a world that wanted them quiet. I was invisible once, too, Eleanor told him during one of those coffee encounters. Different kind of invisible. Not race-based, not poverty-based, not janitor uniform-based, power-based invisibility. The one that happens when the world sees your face but not your pain. Craig explained it clinically later, but Eleanor explained it poetically. The kind where everyone sees you, but no one hears you. Terrence asked once, 2 weeks before HR would accuse him of crimes he didn't commit. How'd you escape it? Didn't she exhaled. I just learned to make noise in ways they couldn't ignore. Ignore the system's favorite verb. But then came her second sentence. Softer, but sharper, like encouragement soaked in threat. You're still invisible, Terrence, but you don't have to be. Have to be invisible. He was a janitor by occupation, not by destiny. I filed the paperwork for his paramedic recertification. Long shot, probably. But long shots were the only shots life ever handed him anyway, and ironically, he always hit them alone in supply closets. But Jazz's appeal was moving forward. New evidence, new heartbeat, new law of motion, truth finally getting legs after years of sitting obediently. Hope was dangerous. Terrence knew that. He let himself feel it anyway. Sometimes danger was the only acceptable luxury left. Then came the midnight call from Grace, lightning fast, voice urgent enough to light a scene without colors. Terrence, I found something. Something big. She was hiding in New Jersey, staying with a friend, living on fear and adrenaline. Lungs more awake than logic. Sleep a privilege fugitives didn't file for. There's a connection between Pinehurst Wellness Center, Meridian Healthcare, and my grandfather's cases. Patients who disappeared from the records, money flowing to shell companies, and there's a death. A patient who died under suspicious circumstances. Suspicious circumstances. Corporate euphemism for planned tragedy. His throat tightened again. Raymond Torres said the same sentence with different furniture. Evidence appeared out of nowhere. Sound familiar? Someone tried to report it, Grace continued. A medical worker. They lost everything. I know, he said quietly. That was me. Silence. You, Grace whispered. You're the paramedic from the file. Yes, the universe liked to loop. This was its callback episode. I didn't know it connected to your family, not until recently. Craig had said the phrase first. Grace said it second. Eleanor said it third. Each voice discovering the same horror in different timelines. Then you understand, Grace said. You understand what we're fighting, not what they'll do to stop us. Terrence didn't just understand. It was pre-testified trauma. The next morning, he found a document in Eleanor's purse. She had left it at the cafe, careless, unlike her. Guilt makes intelligent people suddenly bad at continuity. Carter Jasminell, case number 20,197,734, his sister's case file. In Eleanor Ashford's handwriting. Notes in the margins like someone trying to edit fate after publishing it. Why did she have this? Why now? He didn't get a chance to ask. Because life liked unanswered questions right before villains entered without knocking. The day continued like any other. 5:15 clocks, 52 floors, rain, fingerprints, flash drives he never touched, injustice filing copies of itself into his locker, uninvited. Then the trap snapped shut. The guards appeared. HR accusations, bail numbers absurd enough to mock oxygen. Richard Ashford smiling with expensive teeth and cheap conscience. Terrence being interrogated by a detective funded by the real villain, Raymond telling him the backstory he had lived through firsthand. Then Craig Ashford, brave enough now, shaking enough now, pulling Terrence out with untraceable money because truth finally demanded messy evidence and fingerprints couldn't convict innocence forever. 1 week later, Gladys Coleman moved into Sunrise Memory Care, a facility that smelled like lavender. Gardens soft, caregivers gentle, dementia not shouted at their rooms, built for remembering humanity, even when memory fails. Tired met kind. Kind hired fighting chance. Confronted cowardice. Evidence hired courage. Courage demanded testimony. And testimony demanded confrontation. "We need to talk," Terrence whispered into the phone. Phrasing sounded small. The impact would be seismic. "Then come over," Eleanor whispered back. "I'll be waiting. Not in diamonds, not in designer coats, not in bus shelters or locker rooms at 52 floors high, just a tired woman. Finally ready to answer the question terror and exhaustion had been writing for 30 years. When did you know he was capable of real evil? And Terrence Coleman, the invisible hero, walked toward the answer anyway. Folder in hand, truth heavy, not reduced, never reduced, not even by the universe. "Mother, what have you done? What have you done?" The agent seized him. Handcuffs clicked shut, cold metal biting into his wrists. Terrence's chest tightened as he looked at his mother Gladys, her face calm. Not triumphant, but weary years of fear, regret, and finally, maybe peace. "I did what I should have done 30 years ago, she whispered, voice cracking. "I told the truth." In the courtroom, the evidence unfolded like a storm. The Ashford empire, decades of deception, fraud, and abuse, laid bare in meticulous documents. Shell companies, financial transfers, hidden bank accounts, fairy lie exposed. Grace Ashford appeared via secure video link, her face pale but determined. Recounting her illegal detention at Pinehurst Wellness Center, Terrence's hands gripped the edge of the witness stand as he told his story. The paramedic career stolen. The whistleblowing that cost him everything. The sister imprisoned for defying the Ashford family. He spoke calmly, resolutely. "Not here for revenge," he said, eyes on the cameras. "I'm here for justice. For the truth. For my sister. Oh, for everyone they destroyed." Judge Patterson's gavel hovered, trembling in her hand. The weight of evidence, the eyes of the world, the relentless pursuit of accountability left her no choice. "All charges against Terrence Coleman are dismissed with prejudice," she declared. The courtroom erupted, cameras flashing, reporters shouting, but Terrence barely heard. His focus was on Eleanor Ashford, standing silently, holding a small frame. The $2 bill, crumpled and now preserved in glass, she pressed it into his hand. "I carried this for 6 months," she said softly. "It reminded me that kindness exists, even when undeserving, and cruelty. Cruelty is just as revealing when wielded with power." Tears blurred Terrence's vision. He told himself not to cry, but the dam had broken. Deep, long-suppressed sobs racked his body, releasing years of anguish, 3 years of prison calls, sleepless nights, watching Gladys forget, watching Jazz suffer for a crime she did not commit. Cameras captured the rawness of it all, but he did not care, he whispered, choking on his words. "Thank you. Thank you for finally telling the truth." Eleanor's own eyes glistened. "No, Terrence, thank you. You reminded me that redemption is possible, even for someone like me," she turned, leaving him standing in the chaos, holding a symbol of kindness that had changed the course of lives. 6 weeks later, the morning sun lit the gates of Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in shades of gold and pink. Terrence's heart thumped as he saw Jasmine Coleman stepping through, fragile yet indomitable. 3 years had etched lines into her youthful face, shortened her hair, added weight to her shoulders, but her eyes burned with the same fire and hope that had survived every hardship. She ran, arms wrapping around him with the force of all the lost time, all the anguish, all the silent calls and letters. Terrence held her, trembling, sobbing, overwhelmed by the reunion he had imagined 1,000 times but never fully prepared for. "I'm sorry, Jazz," he choked, tears streaming. "I couldn't protect you." She pressed his face in her hands, fierce, loving. "You did protect me every day. Every call, every word, Every time you told me to hold on, you never gave up, and neither did I." They held each other in the sunlight. Finally, after years of waiting, Gladys Coleman's eyes widened as she saw them, two of her children together at last. "Baby girl, is that really you?" Her voice cracked, trembling. Tears streamed as Jazz fell to her knees beside her mother's wheelchair, clasping her weathered hands. "I'm home, Mama. I'll always come back to you." Terrence knelt beside them both, completing the circle. Justice had come. Truth had returned. Love had endured. 1 year later, the bus stop in Kensington looked the same: cracked pavement, flickering light, rain drumming against the shelter roof. Terrence, now in his paramedic uniform, waited beside a young man shivering on the bench. He slid $2 into the boy's hand, repeating a gesture that had once saved him. "It's a long walk in this rain," he said. The boy stared in disbelief. "Why?" Terrence smiled faintly. "Someone did this for me once. Changed everything." Jazz waved from the car. "Pass it on someday." Terrence looked back at the bus disappearing into the rain, whispering some things shouldn't change. Richard Ashford was sentenced to 25 years for fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. Meridian Healthcare collapsed. Over 200 victims received compensation. Eleanor Ashford admitted judicial misconduct, now offering free legal aid to the wrongfully convicted. Jasmine Coleman returned to teaching, founding a nonprofit for families of the incarcerated. Gladys Coleman lived 2 more years, surrounded by her children. Terrence Coleman carried his $2 bill as a talisman, a reminder that kindness costs everything, yet always comes back. Fate Tales outro. Remember, every act of courage, every small kindness can change destinies. One choice, one moment, one brave heart can rewrite a life. If Terrence's story touched you, share it, subscribe to Fate Tales, and keep the light of hope alive. Because the world needs more heroes, more kindness, more stories like this.